It was May 21st, 2001. There's an unyielding feeling of unreality about what was happening. Part of the reason is because I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but I was 45. Way up to the point where I was actually diagnosed, I was getting assurances that it's probably not going to be cancer. So when I got it, it was a pretty big shock. You know, the doctor was very, very kind. He seemed genuinely disturbed, you know, by having to give me that information. It was Dr. Ellis out at the University of Washington. So he explained to me that the cancer I had wasn't really, it wasn't curable. It was something that would likely be treated with hormones. I asked him if surgery would be in the offing, and he said probably not, because it had already spread, and it was stage 4, so it was already advanced at the time I was diagnosed. One thing that I never forgot about that day was that he told me that it was I probably had it for 10 years for it to have progressed up to the point that it did at the time I was diagnosed. So I asked him how long I had to live, and he said he didn't want to tell me at first, and you know, I kind of pressed him, so he finally said, well, you know, probably maybe 2 years, and attitude has a lot to do with it. So you know, I think I found that to be true. So I think almost from that very first day, I sort of thought, well, maybe it's going to be different for me. You know? So I called him. I called my parents, my brother. I called a good friend of mine, and later that night we went out and drank too much. So, not to sound like I was drinking in bars every night, but I mean, I had been friends with this guy for 25 years, you know, and it just this lot of rich association of memories, and to think that was suddenly going to perhaps stop was really overwhelming. You know, I got quite upset. I could tell pretty quickly that, you know, that was SCCA was the right place for me. I knew that because I had, you know, advanced cancer, that I might at some point need access to more, you know, more cutting edge or even participating in clinical trials, and I felt like that would be the best place for me to be positioned. Some of the treatments I've received have been kind of cutting edge in the sense that it took the insurance company a while to figure out what was going on and to approve it. So that told me that they hadn't seen it before. So that kind of felt good. Yeah. There's no reason to be ashamed of having cancer. You know, in fact, it's probably really important to talk about it freely, because it destigmatizes it. It's not like people that have cancer are qualitatively different than everybody else, you know. So everybody's going to have to come to terms with cancer at some point in their life, whether it's themselves directly or whether it's a loved one. But that's the way it is. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is to be patient. But you have to trust that this process will eventually arrive at what you need, and you know, you can't force it, but you'll get there. Be 8 years in May. Yeah. Yeah, feels real good. Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. Pretty happy about that.